This week on Hermitcraft.
See you later, my friend.
Welcome to the Hermitcraft Recap. My name is PixelRiffs, our writer is ZloyXP, and before we begin, let us quickly address all the hermits who ever fiddled with a bundle of sticks on a stone plate. The server now has Armor Stand Book version 2.3. Xisuma updated the data pack, so bring a regular Minecraft book to the former Joe Hill's Halloween shop and get your copy of the book that makes cool stuff happen. It has become more powerful than ever. Cleo, Jevin, we're looking at you here.
And you can see that the shrine will actually detect to see if you've got a book already, so you don't get spammed with it.
And with that out of the way, let's take a look at all the events and mishaps that occurred on the Hermitcraft server this week.
Hello?
Hello, sir. If you would indulge me with...
I don't answer my door, I'm sorry. Go away.
Starting, and for a reason, with the ever-expanding dark cloud that is Concorp. Lately, Cubfan has been working on the underground executive rooms for the Board of Imaginary Directors, represented, for your convenience, by parrots eating cake.
Cake literally rains from the ceiling, which is awesome. Check it out. We got just cakes upon cakes upon cakes.
When put together and having a collective think, the community of multicolored birds and Good Times with Scar has seemingly come up with only one directive: acquire everything, establish dominance. So, through Cubfan meeting up with various participants of the server's economy, Concorp has successfully taken over Joe Hill's dirt cheap shop and established a distribution spot for their pumpkins in Impulse's iTrade Megamart.
I'll let you decide what to do with that, okay? I'll put the power in your hands. If you want to put a chest, over the villager or wherever in the ground, it's up to you, man.
Okay, I've got two separate documents here. One for the brand ownership, and one for the mall location and inventory of the entire stock.
While this could of course be seen as the corporation of Vexes rooting their tendrils deeper into the market, a sliver of hope shines, because Cub and Scar highlight that the face of Concorp has always been seen as a bit too dark, and these acquisitions are but a helpful nudge the local economy could really use. This is somewhat hard to believe, especially because if this was a game of Monopoly, they'd be close to owning half the board. Weirdly though, it's other people who are building hotels, like Python, who makes a return to the server this week to get stuck back into his quartz skyscraper project. The latest construction is just the lower half of a hotel, complete with bubble columns taking you up to the first actual floor, but during the construction, he realizes he may have made a terrible mistake.
God, I think I've just realized what I've done here, my friends. Can you see it? Can you see it? There's some sort of Bomboni face in this freaking building, and it's on all four sides of it.
The Corp of Cons, in the meantime, are interested in a very different type of property, a sizable movie studio that they've talked Xisuma into collaborating on.
You'd be teaming up with the Vex, the Concorp, and I have to ask you something. Which one would you lick, and which one would you eat?
Together, they take out a sizable chunk of real estate by the railway and plan out the crucial builds to be part of this totally not propaganda machine. Without a doubt, this is a very Good Times with Scar project, so even though the nearest comparison they go for is MGM, don't be surprised if he fits an entire Universal Studios in there, knowing quite how much of a theme park dork he is.
Wow. Walt Disney actually allocated extra money just to have the best water tower. Okay, I'm going off of Disneyland, I'm sorry.
Independently of each other, him and Xisuma assemble two main stage buildings aiming for a modern and fitting concrete look, ready to be utilised in all sorts of shoots. Just gotta buff out the reverb, or else audio editing is going to be a real headache. Back on his own land, Scar finishes reshaping the land. Most of the starter island he once set foot on is now beyond recognition, but in the good, much more detailed and much less swarmed with shulker boxes way. As for Xisuma, the implementation of the new Armor Stand book could not go without a serious overhaul of the Halloween shop. The roof in particular is now much more vocal about selling statues, and most of the interior is, for now, barred from visitors, though who knows what else good old X is cooking up in there. In more server-side community help, Xisuma pumps up the blood on the blood moon, making it more visible, which is very helpful. And lastly, connects his base to the Hermitcraft rail network, automated station and everything. Too bad the entire rail network now has to be rebuilt one block to the left, because he's certainly not redoing his part. And of course, since he reached episode 800, we got another epic appearance of Evil Xisuma.
Oh, not this guy. Do you know what? I can't be doing with this. No, I should have done this a long time ago. See you later, my friend.
Elsewhere on the rails, Stress Monster does more detail work on the giant train that serves as her frozen ocean station, giving it a more dramatic look by wrapping ice around it as though it's actually in the process of crashing into the iceberg.
Probably some more leakage of ice. More leakage of ice. I don't know where these words come from.
After a brief check on the Treat Your Chick ranch, Claudia survives, Darren dies.
Sorry, Darren.
She starts working on the rail system leading into the train, represented by a giant wooden track with a tiny minecart track on top. The exhibit jokes are writing themselves at this point. Her main concern is that this is the lime green line of the HRN, which doesn't really match the rustic aesthetic she's going for, so it might be time to appeal to the board of directors for a small rebrand. That is, once the board of directors is done blasting holes in the fantasy district.
Come on, Rambo, you can do it, and boom, very nice.
Because Rendog has now installed item filters for his entire storage system and is ready to start chucking items in from surface level. The plan is to eventually design a dragon skeleton around this new crater and to hurl the items you want to store into its mouth in tribute.
However, down here, there's a little bit of damage that has been done, and this is kind of annoying.
Inside the fairy grotto, some up and down bubble elevators are installed for those fairies who left their wings at home, and Ren starts emptying all his shulker boxes into the system as a stress test. At least that gives him time to work on the medieval rail line of the HRN and to announce the winner of the logo competition.
Twitter user called Happy Whale has come up with an absolutely amazing logo, which I love. I absolutely love it. It's perfect.
Jevin, on the contrary, is the master of his own colours, and if he says he wants the fidget spinner red, he'll make it red, despite it already being blue. Thankfully, a data pack allowing to repaint coloured glass saves him from additional sand smeltage, and the core of his new ocean base is recoloured way faster than it could have been.
Red glass. Oh, I'm so happy we can do that, man. That's such a useful thing.
This sudden switch of palette also allowed him to throw in some black glazed terracotta, already in tune with the black outline. Now, if only the wrench texture from the data pack loaded properly, that'd be flawless execution. Back to Ren and his community-suggested logo. They might need to move over, as False Symmetry has had an entire door sent to her via email.
And one of you guys called Carsten sent me an email and was like, dude, this is how to do it. And they came up with a really awesome sand door design. I've got a feeling it might be 4 blocks tall. I could be wrong, but that's not an issue because it can always go into the ceiling.
And before you chip in with "you wouldn't download a door," she really didn't. She made one of her own, leading out of the base into a new bridge that connects her estate to the TAG headquarters. Yes, the TAG that is still on Scar but he is not bothered headquarters. Please stop asking, guys, we don't make the news, we just report it. The entire server seems to be on a bit of a giant logo kick, actually, because this week TFC takes a rare visit to the surface to build a giant Vault-Tec logo. He'd actually planned for it a while back, but never got around to it, and it now has some competition from the Sahara warehouse, about which more later, but at least TFC now has enough blue and yellow wool to mark out his territory. The plan, if possible, is to convert it into a secret entrance to the vault itself. He's a little miffed about the aforementioned Sahara team installing a Haste 2 beacon directly above his base, though.
Around here close enough to be working down here. And you know something? I hate it.
If it's secret doors you're after, look no further than Doc M, who continues setting up the subtly disguised alternate entrance to the Sky Hub.
Yeah, triggering it empty was a bad idea. Yeah, that broke it.
After walking into a certain radius in the Nether Hub, enabling the pathfinding of a small herd of cows trapped below the map floor, players can now trigger a hidden mechanism that will drop them into a minecart and whisk them up to the Sky Hub without their elytra. Doc is 2/3 of the way done with that, there's just the minecart rails left to set up, although last time we saw him he was still muttering piston bolt under his breath, so this exhibition of state-of-the-art redstone will probably continue into the next week.
How interesting it can be to see nothing happening, right? Great.
In the ceiling above, Impulse is making the tunnel to the gold farm as bling-blang as possible, complete with an expensive cauldron ceiling, some half-concealed glowstone, and the mandatory gold blocks everywhere. It's very Impulse. So is the amount of bedrock he breaks on the nether roof to make sure his server mates can fly up to the gold farm uninterrupted.
The block as soon as it blows up, and then we just need to see if it did indeed work. There we go! Yeah, that's so much simpler, and I'm not losing as many blocks.
He himself is only interrupted by a business proposition from Cubfan, who plans to provide a few more tradable crops to fill the gaps over at iTrade. Joe Hills is also interrupted by Cubfan while casually getting second place in the longest drive contest.
Let's see what the distance is on it. Wow, ludicrously good. I think I'm in second place.
Haggling a price of 80 diamonds for the sale of the dirt cheap store in the mall, Joe goes on a shopping spree, paying off a couple of debts at the shopping district and renting some sponges so he can spam them underneath the Ministry of Truth building. Then, with his options dwindling, he resorts to giving back the money to Concorp businesses in exchange for some redstone components at Cherry Computers and a shulker box of rockets from Top Gunpowder. Do you see the monopoly board at this point? Zombie Cleo has a better idea on how to deal with capitalism: become a pirate. Still at the Juggernaut ship and still using the old armor stand book, Cleo denounces the name of Pumpkinhead Pirates, and now they can have whatever heads they want as long as they remember how to load and fire cannons.
He's panicking because the light's gone out and the little torchbearer is running away, instead of covering his ears because it looked more, oh my god, rather than, I'm just covering my ears. If we could bend them, that would be cracking.
A ship-wide diorama of cannoneers fetching gunpowder presents a menacing sight. The Tortuga citizens had better fire back soon, though they're all the way on the shore and Cleo doesn't feel like going there. She'll decorate their defences some other time. With all this explosive racket going on, it's quite helpful of Grian to show up at Scar's doorstep with a pageant for the Did You Die boxes.
I think maybe 3 stacks.
Oh wait, hey, this is a private man.
Sorry. You know, I was just.
Pretty much
Oh boy, you just gave me 3 stacks of diamonds for that, and I'm still dirt poor compared to you.
Our worthy successor to Sherlock Gnomes, Grian finishes the facade of his future detective agency, but is, for now, left with no office to operate out of. The mysteries are afoot, such as why is a private detective selling equipment boxes door to door, or who told Iskall that green screen lime is a good colour for a business suit.
I figured for the occasion I have to step up my attire.
The latter shows up for an architect meetup at the Infinity Room, where the group, sans the non-colour-coded one, decide on the future of their upcoming Concorp killer, the Sahara project. As luck would have it, Grian had some napkin sketches to hand, and the duo got a time-lapsing, raising the overall shape of the future storefront, plus putting a nice logo on it in blocky letters.
Look at this, it didn't look right. The S was wrong, the spacing was wrong, so we decided to take the whole thing down until we absolutely nailed it and then moved it into the top left-hand corner.
While the booth in which he got the suit seems a little dubious, Iskall continues putting his building skills to use on the exterior of his Arctic research station, framing the outside with more dark concrete and adding modular corridors to the entrances.
Look at that! There's no longer an elephant. Well, at least I hope you guys don't see an elephant.
Then, at the second Sahara meeting, they decide their business strategy needs to be even more aggressive. Inspired by their namesake desert, they decide to cover their rivals in sand, turning the entire Concorp territory into a desert and even sprinkling some cacti in for good measure. Considering how much concrete they use to make half a building and how much sand they basically just given to Concorp for free, one wonders if they'll have any sand left to sell when all this is over. And finally there's Mumbo, who, when he's not participating in these shenanigans, is hard at work on the redstone systems that will deliver the goods to Sahara's customers, and finishing blasting out the perimeter of his witch farm project.
Total side note, but I just spotted this next to the redstone design we were working on, so whatever note block you hit, that's where the item goes, and it goes there instantly.
Now that he's obliterated 1.2 million blocks with TNT, he revisits the design to figure out exactly what he wanted to build in the first place, and he starts to chart the places where witches are going to spawn on the actual server. Compared to the enormous pit below it, the farm seems hilariously small, but hey, good witches come in small packages.
That looks so silly. You would barely be able to notice it, and yet that is the thing that is going to be providing all of the items from this point forth.
And that's just about it for this week's recap. Our writer is ZloyXP, and my name is Pixel Riffs. If you want to see Zloy and 2 of his friends getting thoroughly lost in the Twilight Forest, there's a link to that in the end screen theatre. Don't forget to leave a like while you're still here, and subscribe so you won't miss future recaps. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.